Good evening and thank you for tuning into this video. So we are going to start a whole new section. We're going to start a section on linear equations. Okay, so go ahead and underline this first definition. A linear equation is an equation whose graph is a line. So basically what that means is, for this chapter, you're going to be given several equations, and then from the equation, you can graph it onto a coordinate system. Any equation that ends up being a line on the coordinate system is called a linear equation. So there's several rules that linear equations have to follow. The first rule is that no variables can be multiplied together. For example, if you have the variables of x and y, for it to be a linear equation, they cannot be multiplied together. The second rule is that no variable can have an exponent other than positive 1. The third rule is that no variable can be in the denominator of a fraction. So what we're going to do is I'm going to give you several equations, and then we're going to figure out, using these rules, which equation is linear and which is not a linear equation. So let's look at example 1. Example 1 is 2x minus 3y is equal to 6. It follows my first rule because my first rule says that no variables can be multiplied together. My x is right here and my y is right here. So because my x and y are not multiplied together, this equation obeys rule 1. Rule 2 says is that no variable can have an exponent other than positive 1. If you look at my exponent for x and my exponent for y, because they don't have any exponents written, my exponent for x, my exponent for y in this case is positive 1. So 2x is the same as 2x to the first power, and 3y is the same as 3y to the first power. Now, because no variable can, so this obeys the second rule because my variable does not have an exponent other than positive 1. My third rule is that no variable can be in the denominator of a fraction. If you notice, both of these variables are not in the denominator. So I'm going to say yes. This is a linear equation. And it's a linear equation because it obeys all three rules. Let's try example B. We have 4x plus 2y squared is equal to 4. If you notice, so it obeys rule 1 because my x and y are not multiplied together. But it doesn't obey rule 2 because if you look, y has an exponent of positive 2. So it does not follow rule 2. So this is not a linear equation because y has an exponent of 2. So B is not a linear equation. Let's look at C. C is y is equal to 1/2 x plus 1. Okay, it obeys rule 1. My x's and y's are not multiplied together. It obeys rule 2 because both my y and my x have an exponent of positive 1. And it obeys rule C because my variable, my x and y, they're not in the denominator of any fraction. So yes, this is a linear equation because it obeys all three rules. Now let's look at D. It obeys rule 1. My x and y are not being multiplied together. But it actually does not obey rule 3 because if you notice, x is in the denominator of a fraction. So for this one, it's going to be no, because x is in the denominator. Okay, so once again, when I'm checking this equation with the three rules, it breaks rule 3 because if you notice 1 over x here, we have x in the denominator. So it breaks rule 3 because rule 3 says that no variable can be in the denominator of a fraction. So D is not a linear equation. You have a couple of practice problems to try on your own. You have 3, and you also have a graphing question. Bring this to class with you next day. God bless you and have a good evening.